Jason, and this is Just Watches. Okay, today we have a watch from Tsao, Baltimore that was generously lent in for review by a friend of the channel. Now this is not only my first exposure to a bronze watch, it's also my first watch from this interesting brand. But before we get into the review, I just want to remind you, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you're enjoying the content of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. So price and availability, well, all of the watches on Tsao Baltimore's website are limited runs and this one is gone. However, there are other colorways still available and there are stainless steel options if you don't like the bronze. The MSRP of this watch is $825. Oh, and before I forget, happy birthday, Alex. So starting with the case, it's 40 millimeters in diameter, 48 millimeters lug to lug. It's 14 millimeters thick, but about a millimeter of that is this double dome crystal, and then it has a 20 millimeter lug width opening. Now this case is my first experience with bronze, and I was surprised to find that it featured multiple finishes, including brushing and polished surfaces. The compressor style case has a high polished chamfer, as well as two etched out lines on the side of the case. The edge of the bezel is also high polish, and both the high polish areas and brushed areas nicely reflect light. The finishing seems good for a bronze case, but again, my experience with these is limited. The bronze case has also taken on a nice patina over time. The case is comfortable, but despite being a 40mm watch, I feel it wears a bit larger than that, in part due to the compressor style case and twin crowns. The stock strap is Horween leather and starts at 20mm before tapering down to 18mm. This strap is very thick and robust and feels like it will last a long time. It's also comfortable on the wrist. There is nice attention to detail with a matching bronze pin and collar that is signed with the Tsao Baltimore logo. It also features quick release spring bars for easy strap changes. The screw-in caseback is made of stainless steel and has an exhibition window. There's also a ton of information around the edge. Importantly, 200 meters of water resistance, sapphire crystal, and limited edition, but of most interest is proudly designed, assembled, and established in Baltimore, Maryland. That's right, this watch, including the movement, is assembled in Maryland. The movement is the MD1, which is an ETA clone. The rotor is signed with the flag of Maryland. This and the fact that the movement is named with MD, the postal code of Maryland, are both nice nods to the state this watch is constructed in. With some blue screws and the custom rotor, it is nice to look at through the caseback. This movement then has the same stats as the ETA 2842-2, those being hacking, hand winding, 28,800 vibrations per hour, a 38-hour power reserve, and then these are regulated to plus or minus 8 seconds a day. It also features a quick set date. The twin crowns are both signed and both screw down. They also have slightly different knurling, perhaps to help you tell them apart. The top crown will allow you to turn the inner rotating bezel. There is a slight click as you turn the bezel, and it does rotate in both directions. One benefit of this is that you don't have to worry about bezel alignment, as you can always line it up perfectly. The lower crown then is for the primary functions of the watch, such as setting the time, winding, etc. I appreciate that both crowns are signed and both crowns are screw down, something that you don't always see on compressor style watches. The double domed sapphire crystal is treated with air coating and sits proud of the bezel. There is a nice facet all the way around the edge before it begins its rise to this quite large dome. I would say the peak of the dome sits about 1 to 1.5 millimeters proud of the case and is a really fun feature of the watch. I'm almost never going to complain about a sapphire crystal with a hair coating. The inner rotating bezel ring appears black, but it's actually an extremely deep purple, which is a perfect color match to the dial when the dial is not catching direct light. The bezel is a 12-hour style with Arabic numerals for every position except 12 where there is an orange triangle. You can use this type of bezel both to time something as well as to track a second time zone. The dial is a very deep purple that explodes into a vibrant vertical sunburst in direct light. This dial is extremely dynamic and you will enjoy watching the way it reacts in different lighting conditions. It is also a sandwich dial, and the indices, including Arabic numerals for 12, 3, and 9, are cut into the dial, revealing a lumed underlayer that has a vintage lume color. This color is perfectly matched to the numerals on the chapter ring, the lume on the hands, the minute markings around the edge of the dial, and the date wheel. Something that was probably incredibly difficult to pull off, but extremely pleasing to the more detailed focus individuals such as myself. The Tsao Baltimore logo resides at 12, with automatic in orange at 6, which matches the 12 at the bezel and tip of the second hand. Finally, Baltimore, Maryland flank the date window, which is at 6, preserving the symmetry of the dial. The sword style hands are edged in very nicely brushed bronze and filled with lume. The minute hand reaches all the way out to the minute markings at the edge of the dial. The second hand is also quite long, with a counterbalance and a bright orange arrow on the end. As you can see here, the lume includes the bezel and is quite strong, keeping up with the Seiko, although the lume on the bezel does fade faster than the lume on the rest of the watch. And on the Timegrapher with the dial up, we're getting 6 seconds a day, healthy amplitude, minimal beat error. And with the crowns up, we're getting plus 10 seconds a day, amplitude slightly lower as it fights gravity with 0 beat error. And here is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. It's very comfortable on this strap, and it does wear nice, flat, and low against the wrist, thanks in part to this compressor style case. So pros and cons, starting with the pros. It is clear a ton of attention went into the design of this watch by Tsao, the founder of the brand. The color matching between all the elements is perfect, and the dial is a wonderful color both in and out of direct sunlight. The fact that the watch and movement are assembled in the USA is also a really cool feature of this watch, if that is something you do appreciate. As for cons, there is a small alignment issue on their inner rotating bezel, where when the triangle is aligned perfectly at 12, the 6 is slightly askew to the left. Second, I actually dislike the fact that the two crowns have different knurling, especially on a watch where all the color matching and symmetry is so well maintained. I just don't like that they're different. Finally, while not a con per se, I feel like the case does wear larger than its 48mm specification, so keep that in mind. At $825, this watch is at a very competitive price point. For comparables, you have watches like the Notice Duality, another super compressor style micro brand, also assembled in the USA, albeit not the movement, for $700. For quite a bit more, Christopher Ward has a super compressor that is $1,100 on strap. For more affordable options, you have the Dan Henry 1970 diver for $290, or the Orient Weekly King diver for around $375, which are also both in the super compressor style. So there you have it, the Tsao Baltimore Legacy in Raven Purple. What do you guys think about this watch? Leave me a comment in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you have been watching Just Watches.